Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Thank you. Yeah, in the last class, we have discussed about. Let me share my screen. Uh, in the last class, we have discussed about root Hamilton criteria, which actually tells about given a system that means closed loop system characteristic equation, then how the system is that means the system is whether stable or not, and what are the poles on the left half of the airplane, uh, and also it will give you the range of k for which the system is stable, right? Uh, but it won't give the information about for any given system. Let's say for any given k, what is the pole at that point of k. That means if you have system g of s in the form of some k into numerator polynomial divided by denominator polynomial, then the characteristic equation will be of the form equation will be d of s plus k into n of s equal to 0, right? So, but as k changing, the characteristic equation will be changed. So, when automatically the roots of this equation will change. So, if the root changes, um, the system properties like the stability, not only stability, but also changes the transient characteristics. You might have already learned about that based on the poles. Suppose if you take complex poles, if the pole is like here, then this will be zeta omega n. That means this is nothing but our time constant. 1 by this one is time constant. So the settling time is t of s equal to some 4 by zeta omega n. Right? Are you remembering this one? So if the pole changes, the pole location changes, then your settling time will change. If the pole is closer to the origin, then the settling time will be more. If it is away from the origin, then it will be less. Like that, if zeta will also change. If zeta changes, then the overshoot will change. So as k changing, not only the stability properties of the system, but also the transient characteristics also will change. So it is necessary that we need to, while designing a system for a given steady state properties or transient characteristics, we need to choose a appropriate k. So that means we need to know every time for each k where are the poles are located. So this is a very tedious task, right? Every time we need to calculate poles. So instead of that one, if you have a one plot which can shows you given a closed loop system in this form, sorry, open loop system in this form, then how the poles are changing with respect to k. That is called the root locus. So root locus is a trajectory of closed loop poles as k changing from 0 to infinity given a open loop system g of s. Sometimes GFS may not be given directly. It may be given like some instead of direct numerator polynomial, denominator polynomial like that. They might have given the characteristic equation directly. Let's say, for example, SQ plus some 4 s square plus 5 plus k s plus 2k equal to 0. Maybe they may give you characteristic equation like this. Analyze the poles of the that are the roots of this equation as k changing from 0 to infinity. So in this case, the root locus assumes that it assumes the standard form of g of s. So we need to convert this one into that form. Like if I write this one as s cube plus 4s square plus 5s plus ks plus 2k equal to 0. That implies s cube plus 4s square plus 5s plus a into s plus 2 equal to 0. So which we can write it as 1 plus a into s plus 2 by s cube plus 4s square plus 5s equal to 0. Is it clear? I am actually writing into some standard form. This is nothing but your g of s. You can consider. This is called Evans form. If they give g of s like this, then you can directly use that one. Otherwise, if they give characteristic equation like that, you need to first convert into this standard form. Then you need to draw root locus. Okay. So for drawing the root locus actually follows some certain rules. I'm currently not going through the theory behind those rules, but I will explain each rule and will solve some couple of problems using those rules. Okay. So the first rule for this one is the rule number one. What is the number of branches for a root locus? Root locus is drawn, you know, right? Because you are analyzing the roots of the characteristic equation, it will be in S plane. So the number of branches on the root locus is number of poles of the open loop transfer function, or it is the order of the characteristic equation. So this is the first rule. So it is also symmetric about s-axis. This is j omega and this is sigma. So it is symmetric about the real axis. Uh, why it is the number of branches are equal to the order of characteristic equation, we will see that one. The second thing is the root locus where it is starts and where it ends. Each branch starts at open loop pole at k equal to 0 and it terminates at open loop either open loop zeros or at infinity as k tends to infinity. Let's say for example, one simple example. Let's say g of s is equal to some k by s plus a. Simple example I am taking. So the characteristic equation will be of 1 plus k. This one means that means s plus a plus k equal to 0. That means the poles are s is equal to minus a minus k. Right? So the root locus tells that where the starting point will be the point at which the k equal to 0. That means if k equal to 0, that means s equal to minus k. That means that is the pole of this pole of open loop transfer function. So the starting point for root locus is always poles of a open loop transfer function at k equal to 0. Is it clear? Now, where it ends? It ends at open loop zeros. Either it is a open loop zeros. If the open loop zeros are less than the number of zeros are less than number of poles, then the remaining poles ends at infinity. Uh, that we can analyze like this. Let's say, for example, if for d of s plus k into n of s equal to 0, this is the characteristic equation. If you make it k constant, common, then d of s by k plus n of s will be equal to 0. If k tends to 0, k tends to infinity, then n of s will be equal to 0. That means the poles ends at 0. This n of s is one zeros of the open loop transfer function. Like that, if k equal to k tends to 0, then this term will be 0. That means d of s equal to 0. That means the roots starts at poles of the open loop transfer function when k equal to 0. So here In this example, if g of s is equal to k by s plus k, then the root locus starts at this point and it will go towards infinity. If because there are no zeros here, so it will end at infinity, means the zero at infinity we need to assume like that. So this is the concept of zero at infinity. There is no zero, then we say that there is a zero at the infinity. The root locus branch is going towards the infinity. Okay. Then so this is about the starting and ending points. Then next is branches of root locus branch existence of root locus on real axis. Um, so root locus, I will give you one example. For first step is for drawing the root locus. First we need to mark poles and zeros of open loop transfer function on S plane. Let us say this is one pole and this is 1 0, or there is another pole like that. So what we have to do, we have to find out the existence of root locus on real axis. In this case, what we have to see, take a one test point. So let us suppose if I take a test point here. If I take a test point here, so anything right of this test point, the number of poles or zeros is on the right of this test pole is odd, then we say that there is a root locus exists. Here in this case there is no poles or zeros exist, so there is no root locus branch exist here. Suppose if you take here any point in between these two, then right of the test point we have one pole here. That means there is odd number of poles are here. So there is a branch exists here in between this one. And also we know that as I told, first rule, root locus always starts at poles, open loop poles. So that means it will go like this, and it ends at this one 0. Again, if you see here, the number of poles or zeros on the right of this test point is even. So that means there is no root locus exists here. Again, if you see here, there are three poles and zeros exist on the root locus. So there exists a root locus branch on the real axis from here, from this point towards the infinity. Is it clear?
Ma'am, here the number of
Huh.
poles and zeros we are considering combinedly or individually, like the
Yeah, it is
poles
combined.
separately?
Combined.
Okay.
Total. Total poles and zeros to the right of the test point should be odd. Then only root locus exists from up to that point. Okay?
If it's even, then it won't exist.
Right. I will show you in examples how to draw these things. But you keep remember these points for solving for drawing the plot. We should each and every point should be looked. Okay. The next point is asymptotes. Asymptotes are nothing but actually gives a direction in which the root locus branches approaching infinity as k tends to infinity. Okay, because there are a number of zeros are less than number of poles, then remaining poles, that means let's say if your open loop transfer function has n number of poles and m number of zeros, then let me say here, where n is number of poles and m is number of zeros. If n greater than m, then remaining poles, n minus m poles, will end at infinity, right? So that means we need to give that means they should have some direction in which that branch goes towards the end. That is called the asymptote. So basically, to know the asymptotes, we need to have two things, three things. One is number. We need to calculate number of asymptotes. which is nothing but n minus m. And this is centroid. Centroid means intersection of all the asymptotes on the real axis. So this is equal to the sum of real parts of poles minus sum of real part of zeros divided by n minus 1. Okay. Then angle of asymptotes, the formula is 2q plus 1 into 180 degrees divided by n minus m, where q is changing from 0 to 1 to up to n minus m minus 1. Let's start with this one example, one simple example to see this one. Mm, So we are having now, as of now, 4 points. Let's use these 4 points how to draw a root locus. Uh, so the one simple example I will show you. Let us suppose g of s is equal to some k divided by s plus 2 into s plus 3. That means there are two poles on the real axis and no zero. So the pole zero, the figure looks like this, right? The pole plot looks like that. There is a pole at minus 2 and another pole at minus 3. So this is the first step. Whenever they are given a open loop transfer function, we need to mark poles and zeros on S plane. Then the next step is where the poles and zeros uh, uh, where the pole starts and where the zeros where it is ending, because there are only
Ma'am,
two poles.
here
Huh. Tell me.
here we have to draw pole zero plot for only the g of s or the characteristic equation.
Open loop poles, because always the pole,
Okay.
open loop poles only we need to draw, not the characteristic equation. Because if you calculate the poles and zeros of, that is what we are trying to find out, right? The characteristic, the poles of the characteristic equation, how it is changing with respect to change in k. That is what we are finding using the root locus. So
Okay, ma'am.
what we need to do is we need to mark the open loop transfer function poles and zeros on S plane. Then given this g of s, then we need to find how the closed loop poles are changing with respect to k. That is what we are finding using root locus. Okay. So the second step after plotting this one, the second step is we know the number of branches. First, let me say what is n. Here, n is equal to 2 and m equal to 0, right? N is number of poles and m is number of zeros. And the number of branches will be order of uh, order of this equation, number of poles, right? Number of poles are 2 here. So number of branches will be 2. Then existence on the real axis. So if you see any point left of this one from here, there is no poles or zeros. So there won't be any branch in between here. But let me take another. But here, any point, if you choose any test point, the number of poles or zeros, total number of poles and zeros, right of this one is odd. So there exists a root locus in between these two, right? That is the second one. Then third one is what we discussed. This is the third one, right? Number of first one is root locus number of branches, and the second one is root locus always starts at poles. It will start at pole at k equal to 0, and here also there is a one branch starting at k equal to 0, right? These two are going in this direction, right? You have any doubt here?
No, ma'am.
Then once we mark that existence of root locus on the real axis, the next point is asymptotes, number of asymptotes. Under asymptote part, I am telling 3 points. We need to find 3. What is number of asymptotes? Number of asymptotes will be n minus m. So here 2 minus 0 is equal to 2. Then second one is angle of asymptotes. Angles. Angles formula is 2q plus 1 into 180 degrees divided by n minus m, where q takes values from 0 to, because there are two asymptotes, that means two angles will be there, right? That means at q equal to 0 one angle and q equal to 1 two angles. So if you substitute that one, when q equal to 0, then it is 180 by 2, that is 90 degrees, and another one is 180 degrees, and another one is 270 degrees, right? When q equal to 1, then this is 3 into 180 degrees by 2, that means 270 degrees. That means there are two angles, asymptotic angles. One is 90 degrees at another one is ending at an angle 270 degrees. And also make sure that these values, these angles, we will measure from positive x-axis. Okay. Then third point is centroid. Centroid means intersection of asymptotes. Let's say this is centroid, yes, is equal to sigma real part of poles minus sigma real part of zeros divided by p minus or n minus, we are using the same convention, n minus m. So here there are two poles, that means minus 2 minus 3 minus, there are no zeros, right? So 0 divided by 2, that means minus 5 by 2 means minus 2.5. So in this, exactly at this the middle of this point 2.5, there are two asymptotes. One is at an angle 90 degrees. This is, you always measure angle with respect to real axis, that means here it is 90 degrees, and another asymptote which is at an angle 270. This is 270 degrees. Is it clear? My figure, are you able to make it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is the fourth point. So we have to follow these steps to get the complete block diagram of this one. So the next step is, so we have learned about 4 rules. The fifth rule, breakaway and break-in points. Breakaway, break-in points exist when we are having a root locus like this, right? There are two roots which are two poles which are adjacent to each other. Then these are moving like this and this is moving like this. That means they intersect at some point. So this is called the break-in point. Okay, and these will, one may go some direction like this and another one may go another direction, and these two may intersect. If there is a zero here, it will go to here, another one will go here. This means here it is diverging. This is called breakaway point. So how do you find this break-in and breakaway point? So actually at this point, The root locus satisfies dk by ds equal to 0. So by finding this one and solving, you will get at what value of s the root that centroid will sorry breakaway point will exist. I will tell you. I'll give you example for this one also. In the previous example, um so here I'm redrawing again. We are having one here and another one is here. This is going in this direction. This is going in this direction. They both are meeting at this point. So at this point, this is a breakaway point. This is a break-in point, right? No, sorry. This is called a breakaway point because after this they both depart each other. That's why we call this as a breakaway point. Okay, so make sure that I will tell you that the centroid and breakaway point should always equal. Sometimes they may equal, sometimes they may not equal. This centroid only tells you the angles direction, the intersection of asymptotes angles, whereas breakaway point or break-in point are actual points. Okay, so to calculate this one, what we have to find out dk by ds equal to 0, that we need to solve. Dk by ds, how can we say? We have the characteristic equation, right? 1 plus k k by s plus 2 into s plus 3 equal to 0. Then we can write this one as s square plus 5s plus 6 plus k equal to 0, right? That means k is equal to minus of s 5s plus 6. Now once you got the k, then we find out dk by ds and equate to 0. So this will be minus of 2s plus 5 equal to 0. That means s is equal to minus 5 by 2 equal to minus 2.5. So in this case, both the centroid and this one coincide, but it is not always coincide like this. Okay, so this is the real point, whereas this is the asymptotes intersection point. So at this point, real breakdown happen here. So from here, it will one will follow the this asymptote, another will follow in this direction. So this is the root locus for this example. Is it clear? So it is.
Yes, ma'am.
So here at k equal to 0 and here is k equal to 0, and at this point it is branching. So we also need to find out what is the k at this point. How can we calculate k at this point? Because we know s is equal to, at that point s is equal to 2.5, right? S equal to 2.5 minus 2.5. Now you substitute that s here, either in this part, in this equation. Which one? Yeah. If you substitute s is equal to that one and find out k, you will get what is the k at this point of breakaway point. Let me show that one. 1 plus k by minus 2.5 plus 2 means minus 0.5. Another one is plus 0.5 equal to 0. That means this is 1 plus k by minus 0.25 equal to 0. Then k will be, so minus 0.25, that is k equal to 0.25. Okay, so that means at this point the k value equal to 0.25. Is it clear? So at any point on the root locus, you have any doubt? Hello?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
At any point, once even if you draw root locus, at any point, if you want to find the k at that point, what we have to do is we have to find the coordinates of that point and then simply substitute in this equation, the characteristic equation. then you will get the what is the value of k. Okay. Then angle of departure and angle of arrival, because this is on real axis. If any point on the real axis, it is straightforward that it's always going on the positive axis or negative, positive or negative direction, like that. But suppose if there are complex poles are there, suppose if a pole is like this, here is another pole, so it has to poles always reach to either zero or infinity, right? Suppose if there is a zero here, in which direction it is going, whether it can go in this direction, or it can be go in this direction, or it can be go in this direction, any direction it can go, right? So to find out the exact path in which direction that root locus reach to zero, we need to find out the angle of departure. Angle of departure we always measure with respect to, always every any plot, we always the angles are measured with respect to positive real axis. This is the positive real axis. We need to find out in this direction. So for this case, suppose if there is a pole here, so we need to find out the angle of at this in this direction, like that one. So here the formula for that one is the angle of departure is equal to 180 plus phi, where phi is the sum of zeros. That means the contribution of each zero to the test pole. Let us say this is the pole P1. I will draw it clearly. Give me some time. Give me time. Uh, Let us suppose we are having one pole here P1 and one pole here P2, and here is one more pole P3. Maybe here one zero. Here is one more pole. Let's assume like this. Okay, so we don't need to calculate the angle of departure for any of the poles on the real axis, because they are anyhow on the real axis only, right? But the poles which are on the imaginary, complex plane, we need to find out angle of departure for this one. So here the angle of departure, how you calculate? Everywhere this is the real axis. With respect to real axis, we need to calculate what is the angle. So the angle for this from each of the pole and zero, where this one the net angle phi is called the net angle, which is equal to the difference between sum of each zero contributed to the pole P1, angle contributed by each zero to pole P1, and sum of each pole other than P1 contributed to this P1. That means here there is only one zero, right? So this is phi Z1. Phi Z1 is the angle contributed by 0 to this pole. That is always measure, not it should not measure in this direction. It should measure in this direction only. Okay, this is phi Z1. Okay, then sub angle contributed by all other poles except P1. That means pi P2 plus pi P3 plus pi P4. Okay. So let's say for example P2, how do you calculate P2? P2 is perpendicular, right? Because this is complex conjugate. So this angle is always 90 degrees. You can directly calculate. Then P3. P3 is at origin. So you need to calculate P3. So this is again with respect to real axis. This is pi 3. Then this one. This is pi 4. How do you calculate angle? Hello? Suppose if you are given any plot like this, how do you calculate the angle?
Using trigonometry.
Yes, trigonometry. You calculate the what is the distance, this distance, and this distance. Then tan inverse this imaginary part by real part. Real, right? Opposite by adjacent. That means suppose if you want to calculate the pi z1, we already know this location, right? This location with respect to origin we know. So from this one to this one you know, right? Let us say suppose this is a plus b. Let's say p1 coordinates are some a plus b, bj, and z is pi z1 is on real axis. Some the coordinates are at some c. Then your real part, this will be a plus c, and imaginary part, that means height is b. That means the angle phi z1 equal to tan inverse b by a plus c. Is it clear? Simple trigonometry, nothing more. Only we need to calculate the coordinates. How much it is in the x coordinate, how much the test point or test pole is away from 0, and what is the x coordinate and y coordinate, then tan inverse y by x. That's all. So this is how you need to calculate the net angles contributed by remaining poles and zeros to the test point, test pole P1. Then we will calculate, then the angle of departure will be 180 plus that 5. So in case if it is a 0, that means there is a complex 0, then the angle of departure will be angle of arrival, it is not departure, that will be 180 minus 5. Is it clear? This point is clear. It is a little bit, it's not difficult, but you need to focus a little bit on this. And also, as I told you, the angle of departure we need to calculate only for complex poles and zeros. We don't need to calculate for real poles and zeros because they are already existing on the real axis. So we don't, remaining root will actually tell you in which direction it is going. Don't need to calculate the angle for that one. Okay. And the next one is the intersection of root locus with imaginary axis. Um, Let us suppose some root locus it is going in this direction. So here we want to know at what point or at what k that uh, root locus crossing the imaginary axis means it is on the verge of stability. That means it is crossing. It is moving from a stable region to unstable region. That is usually we need to know that one because for tuning the k value we need at up to at what k we can choose. So that time we need k. So we can find out that one using root RH criteria, or otherwise we can simply substitute S is equal to j omega in open loop transfer function and equate the real part to 0. Let's we'll solve some other examples. Are you getting? So total there are 7 rules. So the first 4 rules are basic rules, and the remaining 3 that depends on the plot and previous steps only we need to calculate. Otherwise, we don't need to calculate exam. The For example, if we take another one, before we actually started with two poles, two poles, two real poles, then how to calculate the root locus. But now we will see 3 poles. Let us say xk equal to s plus 1, s plus 2, s plus 3. In this case, how the root locus will be. So first step is we need to draw the pole 0 configuration. That is very first step. Then roots always existence of root locus. There exists a root locus in between these two. Root locus exists here, these two, and here on infinite. So directions. The root locus always starts at poles. So it will go in this direction, it will go in this direction. And here it will go in this direction. Why it won't go in this direction? Because there is no part of root locus exists here. So we have to put in this direction only it will go. Okay. The next step is asymptotes. So first here number of poles are 3, number of zeros are 0. So number of asymptotes equal to n minus m, that is equal to 3. Then the angles of asymptotes is 2q plus 1 into 180 degrees divided by n minus m, that is 3. So you will get 60 degrees, 180 degrees and 270 degrees. Sorry, 300 degrees. Then centroid. Centroid is sigma poles minus sigma zeros by n minus m. So it is equal to minus 6 minus 0 by 3, that equal to minus 2. So using this information, first we need to draw asymptotes and all. So I am drawing asymptotes. Asymptote start point is centroid point is minus 2. That means here it is starting, and one asymptote having an angle of minus 60 degrees and another one is 300 degrees and another one is 180 degrees. That means in this direction. Okay. The next step is, because there are two poles which are adjacent to each other here at minus 1 and minus 2, and in between there is a root locus exists. That means there is a breakaway point here. So the breakaway point so for calculating breakaway point, we need to compute dk by ds. So first I will write this one into a closed form. That means 1 plus k by, this is s square plus 3s plus 2 into s plus 3 equal to 0. So a is equal to minus of s cube plus 3s square plus 2s plus 3s square plus 3s plus 2 equal to minus of s cube plus 6s square plus 5s plus 2. Now dk by ds is equal to, I am leaving this minus sign because anyhow we are making it to 0, right? dk by ds equal to 0. So this is equal to 3s square plus 12s plus 5 equal to 0. So the roots are s is equal to minus 12 plus or minus b square minus 4ac. That means 12 square minus 20, 60 by 6. So this is the point where your uh, centroid exists. That means 124. I need a calculator here. Um, but right now I don't have. Let us suppose this is the point. So this will be in between two. One comes at -1 and another one is positive. Then it will be like this. So this is the fourth point which we need to calculate. That is about calculating break even breaking point. Now the next step is fifth point is this is the fifth point. Then the sixth point is calculating angle of departure. Because there are no complex poles, you don't need to calculate the angle of departure. Even if you calculate the angle of departure, you will get like this only. It is for each pole you will get 180 degrees like this only. So there is no point in calculating that one. The next one is it is crossing the imaginary axis. Then we need to find out at what point it is calculated. So for that, what we have to do, we have to construct a root criteria, RH root array, and then find out at what point k it is going. Uh, let's say this is the point number 7. Is s cube plus 3s square plus sorry, we have already calculated 6x square plus 5s plus 2 plus k equal to 0. Are you following? It's the characteristic equation. Now, given the characteristic equation, we need to construct a root array. S cube, s square, s and s naught. So you will have 1, 6, 5, 2 plus 2. So here it is 30 minus 2 plus k divided by 6 and 0, and this is 2 plus 2. So your k is greater than -2, and here suppose if you make this element to 0, then entire this will be 0. You can form a here you can form a auxiliary equation at this point. So that means for stability k should be greater than, let's say k equal to -2. This is the point. At this point, sorry, 30 minus means 28. 28 minus k equal to 0 from this. That means k equal to 28. If k is equal to 28, then this entire row will be 0. Now you need to formulate auxiliary equation, that is 6s square plus 2 plus k is 30 equal to 0. That means s square plus 5 equal to 0, s is equal to plus or minus root 5. So at s is equal to plus or minus root 5, your this is plus or minus j5 root 5. Is it clear now? This is how you need to calculate at what point the root locus crossing the imaginary axis. And at what point, at what value of k it is crossing? At k is equal to 28. So this is all about the root locus construction. So this is giving how the root locus are changing. That this is the point at which roots are at k equal to 0. The roots are at -2 and -1 and -3, and the root locus is changing as k changing to infinity. Here it will go to infinity as k tends to infinity. Um, Shall we solve one more problem which is having complex poles so that you can understand how to calculate uh, the angle of departure and angle of arrival when there are complex poles.
The centroid should be plus 2.
It's plus 2. Why?
It
Because the
should be 6
poles,
minus 0 by 3.
sum of poles, right? Sum of poles are at minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. The sum is nothing but minus 6. So minus 6 by 3, it is minus 2. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. How do you write there 0?
Here 0, this 0.
Uh, no, no, not that one. The coefficient of s while finding the value of k.
Here. I'm not clear which one you are asking.
Coefficient of s while finding the value of k.
You are talking about root array. Is this one?
No, ma'am. It 30 minus 2, 2 plus k by 6. After that, you wrote there 0, right? So I'm asking about this.
Here. This one.
Yes, ma'am.
This part you are asking, right?
No, about 0.
This 0.
Yes, ma'am.
This is root array, right? Uh, so first element is this one. Product of this one minus this one divided by this. That is this element.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Here
About
there
0.
are no zeros. So this is product of this one minus this one by this. This is 0, right? That element. Actually, you don't need to write at all because there are no elements here. Shall I write it again clearly? S
It's clear
cube,
now.
S cube, S square. Yes. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
We are having 5 is 2 plus k and this is 30 minus 2 plus k by 6 and this will be 0. There is no element here. These are not 0 portion. So this array will become 0 when k is equal to 28. That I am substituting into this equation, in the auxiliary equation. I am framing auxiliary equation by substituting the k value, so that this is the factor of, this is the even polynomial we discussed last class. This is the even polynomial which is the factor for polynomial denominator polynomial or characteristic equation. So that's why you will get this array will be 0. That is the reason I'm formulating this auxiliary and finding the roots of that auxiliary equation gives you directly the value of s. So the value of s at which that is the root of that equation, symmetric root. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Then we will go to another problem which is having complex roots, complex poles. Okay. Then poles are open loop. Poles are at s is equal to 0, 2. On this I can write it as a into s plus 1 by s into s minus 2 into s plus 1 whole square plus 2 square. That means it has a pole at minus 1 plus or minus 2z. We are having number of poles n is equal to 4. Next, zeros. We are having 0 at minus 1 and number of zeros are 1. Now first plot this one. Pole at we mark the poles and zeros. We are having a 0 here and one more pole on the right half of the S plane. And we are having two complex poles. That is A2 and A1. Okay. The next step is calculating asymptotes. How many asymptotes are there? How many are there? Asymptotes.
Just one.
1. Number of asymptotes are n minus m.
3.
Next, angles. 2q plus 1 into 180 by n minus m. That means 2q plus 1 into 180 by 3. So where q is equal to 0, 1, 2. So the angles are 60 degrees, 180 degrees and 300 degrees. Next, centroid. Sum of poles minus sum of zeros divided by n minus n. I simply said that real parts only is enough because imaginary parts of because always imaginary part complex these all are complex conjugates, their imaginary will get cancelled. So we don't need to consider about imaginary part by summing up poles. So here there are the poles are at these things. So that means 0 plus 2 minus 1 minus 1 minus 0 at minus 1 divided by 3, that is equal to 1 by 3 or 0.35. So around this point we are having centroid and the angles of centroid angles are 60, 180 and 360. And also we have to mark the existence of root locus on real axis, right? So here root locus exists because If any point, if you take any test point here, the number of roots on the right half of this is odd. And here there won't be any root locus between 0 and this pole. And here again the root locus exists. The directions are, these always start from poles, so here and here, whereas here it will reach to the 0. Then after marking poles and zeros, the next step is breakaway points. You need to calculate the breakaway and breaking points. For that, we need to solve dk by ds equal to 0 using the characteristic equation. That means s into s minus 2 into s square plus 2s plus 5 plus k into s plus 1 equal to 0. That means k equal to minus of s into s minus 2 into s square plus 2s plus 5 divided by k plus 1, sorry, s plus 1. Now dk by ds. I'm simplifying this one first now. If I simplify this one, we will have s power 4 plus 4s square minus 10s by s plus 1. We are having minus 1. Now dk by ds. S plus 1 whole square 4s cube I'm sorry, here to ignore plus 2s minus 10 into s power 4 plus s square minus 10s equal to 0. So once you solve this one, we will have a statistic equation. The equation will be like this: 4s cube plus s square plus 2s minus 10 equal to 0. Then s will be minus 1.6861 minus 0.225 plus j into 1.32. So these are the uh, values of s that satisfies this equation. So from this you need to identify which one is the breakaway point and which one is breaking point. Breakaway and breaking points will always exist on the real axis. So this is not a breakaway and breaking point. So here minus 1.86 and 1. If you go through, see the plot, 1 is here in this direction, right? So this is actually the breakaway point. So this root and this root will meet at this point, that is at point 1. And from there they branch each other and they go like this. Then there is one more root which is breaking point, that is one more point, that is minus 1.8. 1 point minus 1.86 will be around here. So that means these roots are meeting at this point. One is going in this direction, another root is going in this direction, meeting the zero. So this is the breaking point. Okay. And this is breakaway point. Now we need to is there any part of this root locus crossing the imaginary axis? No, right? So it is not crossing anywhere on the imaginary axis. Then we don't need to calculate the point at which the root locus crossing the imaginary axis. The seventh point is not needed. The next point which is required is um, angle of departures. Let us suppose this is my P1 and this is P2 and this is P3 and this is V1. So that's all. This is P4. So we need to calculate angle of departures for each for P1 from each of the pole and zero. That means we need to calculate the angle. This is the phi P2. That means the angle, the pole P2, the angle contributed by pole P2 to P1, and this is phi P3. This is phi 4 and this is phi 0. So first we need to calculate the net angle phi. So net angle phi means sum of uh, phi z's minus sum of phi p's. Here that means phi 1 minus, this is phi z1, sorry, phi p2 plus phi p3 plus phi p4. So we need to calculate all these angles. Let me draw here clearly here. This is P1, this is P2, P3, P4, P1. Now, what is this angle? This is 5 P2. The distance here is, this is from here to here 0 and here to here minus 1. So total distance is 3, right? And here is 2. So that means tan inverse 2 by 3. But that will give you this angle. But we wanted this angle. That means 180 minus this one. Okay. This will be around 180 minus 180 from 33 point, please check again this one, 33.69 degrees. Then 5P3. 5P3 is again from here to here. This is 5P3. So this angle we know that is tan inverse. This distance is 1 and this distance is 2. Vertical is 2, that means 2 by 1. And since we want this with respect to positive real axis, then it is 180 minus this one. And then what we need is with respect to P4. P4 anyhow we don't need to calculate. It is 90 degrees. 5P4 is 90 degrees. And 5Z1 is also 90 degrees because all are in the same line. Now total net angle phi is equal to, this is 180 minus this one, this is 180 minus, this will be equal to 180 minus 63.43. Then your phi will be 180 minus 33.69 plus 180 minus 63.43 plus 90 degrees. This is sum of contribution of all the remaining poles to P1. Then 90 degrees, this is contribution by 0. So this is around minus 82.5 degrees. So the path, how this root locus from the P1, this is P1, it is minus 92 degrees, minus 82 degrees, right? So in the reverse direction, it will be like this. So at this point, so it is starting like this, and it is reaching at minus 1.86. We already calculated that. This is the breaking point, and from here, one path is reaches to 0, another one is reaches to minus infinity. So the overall path plot so this is how the root locus plot. I will cleanly draw again. There is the centroid, centroid right. And this is the breaking point, and here it is 1.86 is, so this is breakaway and this is breaking point. So the overall plot looks like I'm not drawing properly. So this is symmetric around that one. So one point reaches to here, another one is going like this. This is how the root locus will be. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Sometimes you may need to, because in exams you will get small examples like which we can calculate the roots of the equations and all by hand. But sometimes you may need to, for designing and all, you may need to use MATLAB. Uh, let's see how to draw in MATLAB. So first step is we need to, you are able to see this one, right? My screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, so first you need to define S is equal to T of S. Then you need to give the same example whatever I gave. G of S is equal to S plus 1 by K into S plus 1 plus K. We don't need to mention because with respect to K only we are drawing the root locus. So S plus 1 by S into S minus 2 into S square plus 2 S plus 5. Then figure and the root R locus. This is the command for root locus to draw. And I am actually grid on means so that you can see the coordinates. If you run this one, so this is the root locus. So this blue color, this one. Is it clear? Are you able to see the plot? This
Yes,
is what,
ma'am.
this is how we also draw, right? This is one. So you can also see that the point at which the breaking point we got at 1, right? So pole at, this is the point where we got 0.986, approximately 1 I mentioned that one. And also another breakaway point, this is the breaking point. This is 1.986. So that is what approximately 1.86 is that, 1.89 or 1.86. They're getting right. There is an error in this version, that's why the gain at that point also it will display, but it is not showing. Here my version has some bug. That's why it is not showing that K. At each point you can see if you hover your pointer, you can see at each point what is the K and what is the pole location, what is the damping ratio, overshoot frequency, everything it is there. Is it clear now?
Ma'am, I'm having issue with the root locus. How do I
Uh,
finding with the root locus?
Not clear. How do you finding this?
The root locus.
This is the root locus. Locus means the trajectory of a closed loop pole. This red color, green color one, which we are, as of now we have drawn, is the root locus. This is the root locus. This blue color curve, what I drawn. This is the root locus. Root locus means it is a trajectory of closed loop pole as k changing from 0 to infinity. This is how the poles are changing, closed loop poles are changing as k changing from 0 to infinity.
Understood, ma'am.
Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Here also focus. One branch is going in this direction, another branch is going in this direction. This is at k equal to 0, k equal to 0. At k equal to 0, we are having, this is one thing at k equal to 0, and this is the starting point at k equal to 0. Since there are 4 poles, so you will have uh, 4 starting points. So these are the roots, open loop poles. Root locus always starts at open loop poles and at the zeros are at infinity. So this is the one. At any point, if you have any coordinate of S, if you substitute that in the 1 plus gh of S, you will get the k at that point. This is the path. This is how the roots of the characteristic equation changes as k changes from 0 to infinity. Clear?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear. But at the pole, at the zero, How do we get to know it will go to left side or the right side? The blue line.
Here, as I told you, right, poles,
Yes, ma'am.
there are two branches here because there are
Yeah.
two branches starting from two poles. These two are meeting at this point. Now they branch each other. One will go to zero because always branches either end at zeros or at infinity. So because here there is one zero, so one branch is going in this direction, another branch is going in this direction. This is k equal to infinity. Another branch here at k equal to infinity. Clear?
About the positive axis. About the positive side.
Huh. Positive side means this one you are saying. Since 0 is
Uh,
here and this point is minus 1.89, which we already calculated, right? This is breaking point. So these two poles are meeting at this point, at the breaking point, and then two diverge each other. Because the root locus exists, we already, based on the third condition, we saw that from 0 to infinity there is a root locus path. So here in the path, the directions one has to take towards 0 because there is one 0 here. Another, there is no other 0, so it will end at infinity.
okay, ma'am. Understood.
Hmm. Here also the same. Poles are starting at 2 points, two poles, one at k equal to 0, one here at this pole and here at this pole. Two branches are starting and they are meeting each other because they won't go in this direction because there is no real branch here actually, that we already saw that because number of poles and zeros right off of this point will be even, that's why it won't be, there won't be any uh, branch in between these two, so it won't go in this direction, it will only go in this direction, and this will also go in this direction only. And so that they are in the opposite, each other in the opposite direction, they meet at this point and they again then diverge here. So as k tends to infinity, this will go to infinity and this will go to infinity, and the direction is given by this asymptote, angle of asymptotes. That's all. Clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Have any other doubts?
Surprise quiz for the week 5 is already conducted.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. The surprise quiz for the week 5 is already conducted or it would be conducted in future.
No, no, we won't conduct. It's already gone, right? Week 5, we don't have any um, surprise quiz. We didn't have. Now week 6 we'll have a surprise quiz.
Will it be today or not?
Today I will share you the link.
Week
Okay.
5 already done, ma'am.
Week 5 actually he covered up to proportional controllers, right?
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
He actually explained up to proportional controller something, right? He told me like that. He need to explain PA and PD also, PID, all those things. I think he will cover later, he said. We can ask him in the next class. I will share the link for surprise quiz. Let me open. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.